Here I have the Speedybee Master 5 V2. This is a new 5-inch ready-to-fly FPV drone from Speedybee that comes with the O3 air unit, and it's built on a new and improved version of the Master 5 frame. Alright, so let's do a quick unboxing, see what comes in the box. Open it up, you get your props. You get one set of props in the box. Got some battery straps right here. Here's the drone. Got a couple tags on it. Looks like the O3 antenna's bent a little bit, but that should be fine. Looks good. We've got a spare cable, probably for a receiver or for the O3 air unit or LEDs or something. We have a TPU piece GoPro mount. This is yellow to match all the other yellow accented parts that are on the drone. Since this comes with the O3 air unit, I'm probably not going to be mounting a GoPro to it. I'm going to just be using the O3 camera, but it comes with a GoPro mount. I really like that they give you spares of these. These are little plastic covers for the wires that actually go over the motor wires. So if something happens to those, they give you 4 spares. Very nice. A couple Allen wrenches to work on the drone in case you don't have any. A bunch of spare screws. And this looks like another little TPU bumper. I'm pretty sure if this is similar to the other Speedybee frame, this will go on the front of the frame right like that. So you get another TPU piece. And of course, a quick start manual. That's everything you get in the box. So this is the Speedybee Master 5 V2. If you follow my channel, you probably saw the review video that I did recently on the original Master 5 HD frame that I have here, and the new V2 is extremely similar. Off the bat, I see a few similarities, but the new V2 offers some awesome upgrades from the last version. So the ready-to-fly Master 5 V2 comes in a few combinations. You can get it with an ELRS receiver like I have here. You can also get it with a TBS receiver, as well as a plug-and-play option if you prefer to just install the receiver yourself. You can also get this drone in digital or analog. I have the digital version right here, so we have the O3 air unit on board in the back. The drone does come with one of these little lens protectors on the camera, so make sure you take this off before you try and fly it. It's kind of tough to see in here, but the flight controller inside is Speedybee's F7 V3 stack with a 50 amp ESC. One of my favorite features of this stack and all of Speedybee's stacks, honestly, is the ability to configure the flight controller entirely on your phone using the Speedybee app. We'll go over this more in a little bit, but it's a very nice feature. The stack has tons of plugs on it, and they have definitely utilized them with this build. On the side of the drone, you see these plates. They look like they're gonna protect the F7 stack a little bit, and there's LEDs on there too. There's also an LED ring on the bottom that looks pretty cool. You can program all of these LEDs in Betaflight or on the Speedybee app. In front of the stack, you have a little yellow TPU. It's kind of tough to see in there, but that little TPU piece holds a buzzer as well as the capacitor, and then in front of that, we have our camera. Taking a look at the rear of the drone, we've got the O3 air unit right here with the heat sink that's built into the frame that kind of pokes out the bottom. This really does help with heat dissipation and is an awesome design that has carried over from the V1 frame. Further back behind the O3 air unit is another little TPU piece, and this is what holds the receiver. I have the ELRS version, so that's sitting right in that little sled. The antenna is secured in this intricate TPU contraption on the very back. This back TPU piece holds all of the antennas as well as a slot for the GPS. This version doesn't come with a GPS, but you can, I'm pretty sure if you wanted to install a GPS, it'd be very easy because this flight controller has tons of plugs on it, and I'm pretty sure one of them is for GPS. So adding that would be nice and easy if you did want to throw one on this drone. The motors that Speedybee has put on this drone are Emax Eco 2 2306 1900 kV motors, so this is perfect for 6S. And then the props that they've included are Gemfan Hurricane MCK 51466 V2 props. Also on the bottom you have this kind of rubber protection, just kind of protecting the carbon fiber, I think. It has a piece of plastic on it, so you can just peel that off. Nice and smooth. One thing I want to make sure that I mention, even though the USB-C is blocked by these plates, it is actually still pretty easy to access the USB-C on the flight controller if you had to. All you have to do is remove these 2 screws on the front of the plastic cover with the LEDs. Once those 2 screws are loosened, this entire plastic piece is pretty much on a hinge with this rear standoff. You can swivel it open, and now you have easy access to the USB-C port. This design reminds me a lot of the Diatone Roma series drones that had a similar piece of protective plastic that just kind of like pops off. This one is just secured to the front standoff. Let's do a quick comparison between the V2 and the original Master 5 HD frame and take a look at what they've changed. All right, so the first change that I want to point out between these two frames is that they added support for the front of the drone. This is the V1, and as you can see, the front bracket starts up here and then it kind of goes up to the top, and then you don't have a standoff until back here. So a lot of people were questioning how durable the frame actually was, because this right here, if you had a good impact right there, the frame could break. And yeah, I never crashed the drone and I never had an issue with it, but I can see how that would be something people would be concerned about. On the V2, they've actually changed this, and you still have the aluminum front bracket that holds the camera and all that, but now it goes up and it kind of has an arc. So it goes up to the same point and then it goes down. So this side plate right here is actually mounted to that. So it's like a standoff that goes up at a 45-degree angle and then back down, and it's all one piece. I think this is definitely going to make the V2 a little bit more durable than the V1. Another thing that I just noticed looking at the front of the drone is they actually changed how the camera is mounted to the frame. So as you can see, the camera has a little bit of flex, and that's because it's mounted to TPU pieces now instead of hard plastic. So on the V1, you had these pieces of plastic that I think some people experienced some jello with. I didn't experience any jello on this build, but on the new one, you've got TPU here, and that should help with overall jello in the image. This was the first thing that I noticed when I took it out of the box. They eliminated the hard-mounted XT60 connector. Now this is something that I actually really liked with this frame, so I'm a little bummed that they got rid of it on here, but either way, you still obviously have the pigtail for the XT60 coming out the top, but yeah, they got rid of the hard-mounted XT60 option. Another thing that I just noticed is that you can fit Avata ND filters on the O3 air unit on this frame, whereas you couldn't fit them on this frame. So this is a little tough to see, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit and hopefully you guys can see this. But the front camera bracket on the older one was a little bit thicker, and on the new one it's a little bit thinner, so that allows the ND filters like that to actually fit on the O3 air unit, whereas this ND filter, if you had the O3 air unit on this frame, these types of ND filters wouldn't be able to clip onto the O3 air unit. If you had some of these ND filters, you could use these, since those are more narrow, but these older ones that are meant for the Avata actually didn't fit this frame. So yeah, they adjusted that, so now you can use pretty much any ND filter that you have, and you don't have to worry about the bracket getting in the way. And the last difference that I want to mention is that they have added additional VTX mounting for the O3 air unit. So on the original frame, they have 30 by 30 and then 20 by 20, and then they have this heat sink right in the middle. Originally, what you would have to do is the frame came with this heat sink kind of bracket that you attached to the O3 air unit to give it 20 by 20 mounting. Instead of having that same bracket, they've actually added 25 by 25 mounting holes to the frame. So now you have the 30 by 30, you have the 20 by 20, and then you also have 25 by 25. So that's perfect for the O3 air unit. And this actually will help save a little space. You'll probably save a little bit of weight because you don't have that additional piece of metal mounted to the O3 air unit. Plus it probably just helps with overall heat dissipation because now the O3 air unit is directly against the heatsink. Between these two frames, I'm assuming that you can interchange some of the parts, the arms, and probably some of the TPU pieces. Otherwise, the new metal bracket that's on the front and the side LED function is unique to the V2 design. All right, so before we take this thing out and fly it, we got to make sure that it's all set up in Betaflight. I do have the receiver already bound up to my controller. For this drone, I'm going to be using the Jumper T-Lite V2. This has ELRS built right in, so this is perfect. I'm going to turn this on just so it can connect to the drone and we can make sure that the modes are all set up correctly. So that's on. Plug a battery into the drone. And when you launch the Speedybee app, adjust this so you can see. When you launch the Speedybee app, you'll probably see a screen like this. You should see a Master 5 icon. Since the drone hasn't been released yet, you're not going to see it on here. I'm going to select Speedybee F7 V3 since that's a flight controller that's on here, and Master 5 should pop up right there. Click the drone, and it should just launch into a Betaflight looking screen. Now make sure that the drone rotates accordingly, and everything looks good. You shouldn't have to change any settings on here since it's a ready to fly drone. You can kind of click through and see all the normal things you'd see in Betaflight. We've got UART1 on MSP, so that means that's for the O3 air unit. We've got serial RX on UART3, that's for the receiver. And then UART4, don't turn UART4 off. That's actually for the built-in Bluetooth. So if you turn that off, in order to turn it back on, you're gonna have to take this little cover off and plug it into a computer and turn it back on again if you want Bluetooth connectivity. So you shouldn't have to change any of these settings. Main thing you wanna do is go down to receiver and just make sure that your throttle responds with throttle, yaw responds with yaw, pitch and roll. Just make sure everything looks good. This looks good. If it doesn't look good, scroll down and you're going to want to change your channel mapping. So change it to one of those, play around with it, and just make sure everything responds correctly. Once that's all set, make sure you hit save, and then you can scroll down to the modes tab. Now I already have my modes set up, but to set up a mode, I'll show you guys how to set up angle mode. So I'm going to close this. Now with your controller in your hand, you're going to hit add range, and you see this pop up right here. You're gonna see auto, so it's gonna automatically detect whichever switch you're kind of flicking. So I'm gonna flick this one, and you see it change to aux 4, and you see this little yellow bar kind of move depending on where the switch is. So I want that to be angle mode. So when this is all the way down here, we're gonna move the bracket to fit within that area right there. So that means that angle mode is on. Hit save, and you should be all set. But like I said, you can do anything you wanted to do in Betaflight in this app, and it's pretty straightforward. If you know Betaflight, you'll be able to navigate this app pretty easily. So this is all set. I'm gonna disconnect. We can unplug the drone and take this thing out for a test flight. In the video you're about to see, I'm probably gonna just use this. This is a Tattoo 1050 6S LiPo. I also have a 1200 and a 1300, so I'll probably switch between the three, but let's see how this thing flies. Love it. This drone flies awesome, very smooth tune. I feel like this is a good hybrid drone that's capable of freestyle, but also good at just kind of cruising around. In the flight that you just saw, I was using a 1350 milliamp 6S LiPo, and I was seeing a little over 6 minutes with that battery, which is pretty damn good for a drone like this. I'm kind of curious how a 6S lithium ion would do on this drone. I feel like you could throw a GPS on the back here and very easily have a solid little long range quad if you didn't want to use it for closer range freestyle. either way, overall the thing flies really well. The frame offers some solid upgrades over the Master 5 V1 frame, which in my opinion was already a pretty damn solid frame. The LEDs on the side and on the bottom are very bright, and I like that you can change the color of those. I haven't crashed this drone to really put the durability to the test, and I don't really want to because I like this frame a lot. But I do think that the newly designed front bracket will offer a little bit more durability than the last version. Anyways, that's going to do it for this review video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave the video a like, and if you have any questions about the Master 5 V2, leave a comment down below.